They were promised progress, but instead they say they lost their voice. In Ladakh, India's highest and most fragile frontier, thousands are on the streets, not for money or power, but for survival of their land, their culture, and their future. By the end of this video, you will know everything that is happening in Ladakh right now. Ladakh, once part of Jammu and Kashmir, was carved out as a separate union territory in 2019 when Article 370 was revoked. The central government took direct control, leaving the region without its own legislature. Many Ladakhis welcomed the move initially, but over time, resentment has grown because they feel sidelined politically and culturally. Their key concerns are that Ladakh has no statehood, no real say in governance, and that decisions are being taken by bureaucrats from outside. People fear that without constitutional safeguards, their tribal identity, land, and fragile environment will be put at risk. They want Ladakh to be granted statehood, which would give them their own legislative assembly. They are also demanding inclusion under the 6th schedule of the constitution, which would protect land rights, jobs, and culture of tribal communities. Locals complain that government jobs are being filled by outsiders while Ladakhi youth remain unemployed. They also fear outsiders may buy land, altering demographics and harming their traditional way of life. Environmental worries run deep as well. Ladakh is an ecologically fragile Himalayan desert with glaciers melting and water becoming scarce. People say big industrial projects are being approved without consulting locals. At the same time, Ladakh is on the front line of India's tense borders with China, so the region is highly militarized. Security concerns add another layer of pressure on the community. In the recent months, protests have escalated. Thousands have come out demanding statehood and constitutional safeguards. Activists like Sonam Wangchuk have been on hunger strike, drawing national and international attention. But the government has not agreed to their demands so far. Tensions rose dramatically after clashes between protesters and police turned deadly, leaving several people killed and many injured. Wangchuk himself was detained and faces police investigation, which has only deepened the anger on the ground. At the heart of the Ladakh issue is the feeling among its people that they have lost control over their own land, culture, and future. They see themselves fighting for survival, not just politically, but environmentally and socially. The government's position on Ladakh is that making it a union territory was necessary for better governance, national security, and development. Officials argue that Ladakh is a sensitive border region sharing boundaries with both China and Pakistan. So, direct central control ensures quicker decision making and stronger security coordination. They say a separate state or more autonomy could slow down strategic projects and complicate administration in such a crucial area. On the demand for statehood, the center has been reluctant. Granting statehood would mean creating a full-fledged assembly and giving powers back to local politicians, something the government believes could weaken its ability to manage the border crisis with China and carry out big infrastructure works. Instead, the government emphasizes that Ladakh already has two hill development councils in Leh and Kargil, which handle local matters. Protesters, however, argue that these councils lost their power after 2019 and are now largely just symbolic. On the 6th schedule demand, the government's view is that Ladakh doesn't fit the exact constitutional criteria as those provisions were designed for certain tribal areas in the northeast. Instead of 6th schedule, the government has hinted it could give Ladakh other forms of protection for land, jobs, and culture, but without amending the constitution. This has not satisfied locals who fear that such measures would be weaker and easily changed later. Officials also highlight development projects, claiming that Ladakh has seen faster road building, new tourism initiatives, and renewable energy projects after 2019. They argue that protests risk stalling these projects. Critics respond that while development is happening, locals are rarely consulted and often sidelined in the decision making. After the recent deadly clashes, the government has doubled down on law and order measures, arresting activists like Sonam Wangchuk and accusing some groups of being influenced by external forces, even suggesting links to Pakistan. This has angered many Ladakhis, who see it as an attempt to discredit peaceful movement. In short, the government's stance is rooted in security and administrative efficiency, while the people of Ladakh see those very arguments as reasons why their voices are being ignored. Looking ahead, The Ladakh dispute could take a few possible paths depending on how both the government and the local leadership act. One scenario is that the government offers partial concessions such as setting up a Ladakh Public Service Commission to prioritize local hiring, giving strong legal guarantees on land ownership and possibly amending laws to limit outside settlement. These steps could calm protests in the short term, but without statehood or sixth schedule status, the deeper discontent may continue simmering. Another scenario is a harder crackdown. The government has already detained leaders like Sonam Wangchuk and framed the protest as a law and order problem with alleged external links. If Delhi decides to treat this mainly as a security issue, protests may be suppressed with force, but resentment could grow underground and risk more flare-ups later. In Ladakh's fragile society, that could make the divide between locals and the administration wider and damage trust further. There's also a possibility of prolonged deadlock. The center may choose to keep the situation under tight control, offering symbolic talks but avoiding structural changes like statehood. That could mean periodic protests, hunger strikes, and clashes with the issue dragging on for years. This is similar to how other regions with autonomy demands in India have seen slow, unresolved struggles. Finally, international attention could influence the trajectory. Ladakh sits on the front line of India-China tensions, so anything that destabilizes it attracts global interest. If environmental activists, pride groups, or foreign media continue to highlight the issue, Delhi may feel pressure to be more flexible, at least to protect its global image. But too much outside scrutiny could also make the government more defensive, portraying the protests as being manipulated by hostile forces. In all scenarios, the central question remains, will Ladakhis be given more political control over their land, identity and future, or will Delhi continue to rule it primarily as a strategic outpost? The answer will decide whether the unrest cools down or escalates further. Comment your thoughts on this issue. Also, if you have learned something from this video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more educational content. Have a good day.